Well, good evening, everyone. Going to give this final evening update on Tropical Storm Laura. Uh, Taking a look at what's happened over the course of the day, we can see Marco and the northern Gulf really sheared apart, now making landfall along the Mississippi Delta and slowly drifting to the northwest and west northwest. And I wanted to show you this daily long loop to kind of show you the structure of Laura and how it has come together as it's moved along the southern coast of Cuba and now appears to be somewhere between Artemisa and San Cristobal. And I'll show you how we're kind of locating that here in a second. But I think the inner core is getting its act together slowly but surely. Um, Looking at the infrared satellite loop, we can kind of see that the thunderstorms are getting wrapped around the center, what I think is the center. And the reason why we kind of think that is because we have some recon out there right now, and they can't seem to find the center anywhere over water. And everything that they're showing me seems to indicate that the center is somewhere right over the western end of Cuba, as I said, somewhere around San Cristobal, right to the western edge of this deep convection that's exploding. So we'll take a look finally at this true color. We're losing the daylight right now, but you can really see where this deep convective band is wrapping around here on the eastern edge here. And one thing I did notice here too is the pressure seems to be really starting to fall off. And we can see that with the latest advisory that has come out from the National Hurricane Center. The 8 o'clock advisory just came out. The winds are up a little bit, up to 65 miles an hour. The pressure is down to 998 millibars. And that's a sign of intensification of the system. Shows us that once it does get out over the waters of the Gulf, that we're going to see, I believe, a rapid intensification of this system. They don't bring it up to hurricane status until 2 a.m. Wednesday. However, I would not be surprised to see it upgraded to hurricane status sometime until tomorrow. Hang on real quick. I just got an aircraft update, uh, and it seems like the center is actually located. Let me go back to our satellite loop. Seems like the center is going to be located somewhere right down in here, a little bit decoupled from the mid-level center. So flight level center is somewhere right in here. So pretty close to where we were guessing. So again, taking a look at, we had some hurricane watches and tropical storm watches issued. The hurricane watch is in effect from Port Bolivar to Morgan City, and the tropical storm watch is from Port Bolivar to San Luis Pass and Morgan City to the mouth of the Mississippi River. Now, I would not be surprised to see this moved further to the west. Don't be surprised to see these shifted west, and I will show you why. Taking a look at the storm tracks from all the global model runs, this is the UK Met, the European, the Canadian, the official forecast track, and the GFS. You can see that the National Hurricane Center track, the official track, is located right here. And you can see a lot of the models are to the left of where the Hurricane Center is. And so if we look at the GFS, the Hurricane Center seems to be kind of biting on the GFS. And this is the GFS Center in black, the main model, and then its ensembles. But if we look at the European, we can see that a lot of the European ensembles are really banking on a Galveston, Texas landfall. And the UK Met is also banking on a Galveston, Texas landfall. So what does that mean if we go back here and look at our main models? It means that I would not be surprised if we go back here. Again, I'm thinking that anywhere between where the Hurricane Center has it coming in which is kind of near Lake Charles, south of Lake Charles, and on the edge of the cone, which is Galveston Bay, somewhere in this area here, upper Texas coast, maybe around the Louisiana-Texas state line, and just to the west of their track is probably a good bet based on what I'm seeing. Some of the other models I want to show you that are of interest right now is the HMON model. The 18Z run of that has shifted to the left a little bit. You can see where this X is. That's where the 12Z run came in, and the 18Z run has shifted about 50 miles to the west. And then we have the H-Wharf model. It also has shifted to the west a little bit. It was bringing it in a little east of Lake Charles, and now it is bringing it in just a little east of the Texas-Louisiana state line. One thing of note here is you can see the maximum winds here up at about 30 feet. It's showing some winds up at about 130 knots. That's about 155 miles an hour. That's a substantial hurricane there, ladies and gentlemen. That's bordering on Cat 4 hurricane status. So if we look at what the composite reflectivity, what the H-Wharf model is projecting the radar to look like, we can see a simulated radar of what this would look like as it's coming in. I put a little arrow here of what the Hurricane Center track would look like and what the H-Wharf landfall would look like. And so you can kind of get an idea of what we would be looking at, even if we shifted this a little bit to the left. Some of you were asking, hey, what could we expect in Houston or Brazoria County? You can kind of see how far left it would have to come for us to be impacted here, even in Brazoria County. Kind of use your imagination. Even if it came in eastern Galveston Bay, we would be on the fringes here in Brazoria County. So is this scenario likely? Is this Cat 4 scenario likely, or a strong Cat 3? Well, I think it is, and here's the reason why. This is the GFS 200 millibar wind forecast as Laura is sitting in the middle of the Gulf. And as I explained in some previous videos, these hurricanes really like to have a very favorable upper level environment. They like to have what we call an anticyclone aloft, which is a clockwise circulation over them. And this is a pattern here. This is a very favorable setup for Laura to have in the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to have an upper level low to the northwest, and we're going to have an upper level low to the southeast. And these are what we call cold sinks, and we have dual channel jet support. It's going to be able to tap into the jet and evacuate air from the storm. And just think of it as crank starting a lawnmower. And I don't see anything right now that would inhibit strengthening. There's always those factors that can be out there that could inhibit strengthening that we just don't anticipate. You never know with these systems. There could always be that fly in the ointment. Everything has to work perfectly. As I was explaining to a good friend of mine last night, it's kind of like a top fuel dragster. You think you've got the thing tuned perfectly for the race, and then you hit the gas and you just don't go anywhere, and then you take it back to the shop and you look at it and you go, okay, this was the problem. Right now, I think this thing's ready for action, but it could sputter at the starting line after it gets out of Cuba. But right now, it looks like it's ready to go. So taking a look at the impacts, if it does go where the Hurricane Center is tracking, we could start to see tropical storm force winds arrive at the coastline of Louisiana sometime Wednesday afternoon, late Wednesday afternoon, early Wednesday evening. If we do get a shift later on, maybe sometime tomorrow, if we get a shift later, more to the west, perhaps later on Wednesday evening, we would get those tropical storm force winds along the Texas coast. Now, tropical storm force wind probabilities, of course, right now are higher in Louisiana, and hurricane force winds are also higher in Louisiana. Taking a look at our rainfall potential, of course, right now, because of the track, our rainfall potential is higher. I'm going to tell you right now, if it follows this track, if it follows the Hurricane Center track, we will not see 2 to 4 inches over the Houston area. We will probably not even see a quarter of an inch over the Houston area. We would be lucky to see anything out of this. But this is very track specific, and it's going to really depend on where the track of Laura goes on how much rain is seen by this system. So the last thing I want to look at here as far as impacts concerning Laura are the surge, and that is we're going to expect to see 7 to 11 feet to the right of the track. And then probably you're going to have some surge issues along San Luis Pass and Galveston. Everybody knows those roads down there tend to flood whenever you get a storm in the Gulf, especially a strong storm. Some of those lower lying roads tend to flood real easily, and 4 to 6 foot as you get up towards High Island. And actually, one other thing that I did have prepared, I kind of put some impacts here as far as winds go, what to expect if this system does go where the current track is forecasting. The strongest winds will be just to the right of the track, and those are the 100-mile-an-hour gust to 120 or so, just to the right of the track. And then you see this other little shaded area here. We would see the hurricane force winds, maybe over 100 mile an hour. That would also be to the right of the track, gusts up to 110. Now, for those of you in Lake Charles, expect you will see sustained winds of 50 to 75 miles an hour. And those stronger winds, again, are going to be to the right of the track. And you might see gusts into the 90 mile an hour range to the right of the track. In Lake Charles, I would suspect you would see winds sustained to 50, maybe gusts to 75. And then in this light green area here, this is your tropical storm force winds, maybe some gusts up to 60 or 70 or so. Again, this is going to be very track dependent. And everybody in the Houston area, tomorrow is really the day we're going to have to make a decision here on which ensembles are correct, which track is which computer model, I should say, is correct. Are we looking at the GFS and its ensembles correct, or the UK Met and the European and its ensembles are correct? We're really going to have to nail it down tomorrow, because we're really not going to have a lot of time to nail it down. But in all honesty, I think by tomorrow we're really going to be able to say, okay, we're really looking at Southwest Louisiana, the Texas-Louisiana border, or we're going to say it's going to be the upper Texas coast. And I think that decision is going to be fairly easy sometime tomorrow afternoon. But it's also not going to give us a lot of time if that track changes. So the bottom line here is keep your eyes open and pay attention to it, because do know that, as I'm showing you right here, there are a lot of models that are pushing it to the west, even though the official forecast has it over Lake Charles, and some of the models are keeping it to the east. There is a reason for concern tonight for the upper Texas coast. But one thing's for sure, we do know who is in charge, and that is the Lord Jesus Christ. So until tomorrow, may the Lord richly bless you, and just remember, He's on the throne, and so we can sleep in peace because He keeps us in perfect peace. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this edition of Agape Lifecast. And whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, I ask that you do me a favor. Please like the video and share it. And if you haven't already done so, please like the Agape Lifecast Facebook page and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, may God richly bless you and keep you.